a sedative. So there's many different types of drugs, but a lot of them will fall quite neatly into one of two categories. They will either be stimulants, so things that make you feel more alert and more awake, so caffeine, nicotine, amphetamines, stimulants, and then you've got the sedatives. So these are things that calm things down and deaden the senses. Alcohol, and obviously all the anesthetics and even mild painkillers, the opioids, they're all sedatives. Okay, so alcohol is sat there as this particular sedative. So that's why when you drink it, it makes you feel, some people would say, relaxed. It's usually the situation you drink it in which will dictate how you feel. Because if you're sat there perfectly relaxed and you have a sedative, it's not going to do much of anything. But if you're feeling a bit uptight and nervous and you have a sedative, it will have an apparent effect because it's anesthetizing that nervousness. So that's why alcohol suits very well to social situations, apparently, because of that aspect. And that's really, I think, where most people get to with it. They just understand it as this thing that you drink and it kind of makes me feel good. But where it gets a bit more interesting is how the brain reacts to it, because the brain, human brain creates and excretes a huge array of chemicals, drugs, and hormones. So these are naturally occurring things. So things you would have heard about, like adrenaline. So adrenaline's a naturally occurring stimulant. You get a shot of adrenaline in you from your brain, and your heart rate goes up, etc., etc. There's lots and lots of these chemicals and drugs and hormones that your brain creates and excretes. And there's a huge amount we humans don't understand about the process. But what we do know is the brain works by way of something called homeostasis, which is a balancing act of all these different chemicals, drugs, and hormones. So when you drink alcohol, which is a sedative, your brain tries to counter it. And it does it in lots of different ways. It releases adrenaline, which is a stimulant. It releases cortisol, which is a stress hormone. But what it's really trying to do is counter the sedating effects of the alcohol so it can maintain that delicate chemical balance, which is all very well. But the problem is then when the alcohol wears off, those additional stimulants are still sat in your system. And that's the really the key, to my mind, the key dynamic about alcohol is whatever relaxed, sedated effect you get when you consume it, there's a corresponding feeling of anxiety then when it wears off. And obviously that feeling of anxiety, that withdrawal, will depend on how much you've drunk before. Because if you've had one glass of wine, it's a fairly relatively low level feeling of sedation, and it will be a corresponding low level feeling of anxiety. But if you're drinking two, three, four bottles of wine or a bottle of spirits, that withdrawal the next day, that overstimulation is going to feel pretty pronounced. And that's why drinkers tend to wake up at about 5 hours after they go to bed. They usually find they're awake because alcohol has a half-life of 5 hours. So after 5 hours, the amount of alcohol in your system has halved, and that's usually when people start waking up completely unable to get back to sleep. Um,
Yeah. Oh, I'm listening to you there, and I was actually feeling a bit queasy. And we talk all the time in the community about all these benefits of having lots of energy and being able to eat healthier and get out running and exercise. But just that waking up in the morning without the anxiety and a peace of mind is just that's what we're aiming for, isn't it? I could
yeah.
actually, it just reminded me of waking up and the anxiety that I used to get even before it progressed to like when I was waking up
Mm,
and wanting another drink. But the anxiety, I used to be really fearful and worried, and I would be thinking, I've not left the house since yesterday, so what am I
yeah.
worried or fearful about? It's horrible.
Mm. Yeah, that's the
It takes
problem.
way back.
Because it's chemically created, even if you've got nothing to worry about, your brain will find something, or you'll just feel horrible for no reason because you're not anxious because of a specific reason in your life. You're anxious because of this chemical imbalance in your brain.